get to the bag, ayy. Got the foot on the gas, pedal to the metal when the lane moving fast, ayy. Let them all cross. If they hate, then let them hate and make a bigger boss, ayy.
This episode is brought to you by SPI Logistics, the premier freight agent logistics firm in North America. For over 40 years, SPI has been diligently building the most successful freight agent network to provide first-class relationships for our shippers, receivers, and carrier partners. We are more than another transportation network. We are a dedicated team of professionals united by one singular purpose, and that is to expedite our agents' success. All of our agents are set up for success on day one, as they are provided with a full suite of support staff that is ready to assist them with everything from after-hours emergencies to financial and administrative needs on a no-fee basis. This way, you can focus on continuing to grow your business. There is no financial risk to start, and you have the ability to earn up to 75% in commissions. If you are looking to take control of your financial future and build your business with the backing of one of the most successful logistics firms in North America, visit www.spi3pl.com to learn more. Do me a favor and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Podcast, the top podcast in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines. But most importantly, you guys provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I say that before every single show. And what I mean by that is I only speak with transportation professionals, because at the end of the day, I want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve. So you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. Happy Friday, everybody. Corey Buchan, what's going on, man? He's over on YouTube. You guys, we go live on YouTube, X, LinkedIn, everywhere. And the audio-only replay will be up on iTunes and Spotify a little bit later on today. But we got another solo show today. We're going to do a lane analysis. We're going to break down some industry headlines. I'm going to preface by saying I'm not going to be talking about the Supreme Court tariff ruling that just came down, because I haven't had enough time to research it all. And frankly, there's enough internet warriors out there who are going to tell you everything you need to know about it, whether it's right or wrong. They're going to let you know their opinion. And I always like to take some time, I know, shocking, to analyze some stuff before I formulate an opinion on it. And if I don't think I actually have a valuable opinion to add, I'm not going to add it. But anyways, you guys, let's jump in. Today's my favorite day. It is a flatbed lane analysis day, and this is right in my wheelhouse. And, you know, again, you guys, my company, 99% of the freight that we move is full truckload, flatbeds, step decks, hot shots, stuff like that, full partial truckload. That's our jam, right? And I look at it is this sector of the industry. I don't see a lot of massive changes happening out there. I mean, I know what all of my customers are telling us and what a lot of my prospects are telling us. There's still, you know, a lot yet to be seen on if there's going to be any meaningful change out there. And this lane was viewer submitted. And again, if you want your lane broken down, maybe you're having some trouble understanding some of the pockets of volatility that come along with it, submit them to the show, you guys. podcast@thefreightcoach.com. All I need is a pickup city, delivery city, and trailer type. All right. You can even round it up to the nearest big city to throw me off if you think I'm out here somehow having the time to try and find what shipper it might be. But that's what we're here. We're going to talk about this. And today's lane, Ontario, California to Salt Lake City, Utah for a flatbed. Now, the first thing, again, I pay attention to, no matter what, you guys, is the trend line. Okay. What do I mean by this? This little guy right here, where's the spikes? Where's the plateaus? Where's the dips? What does this all look like? And from my perspective, if you move flatbed or if you've moved freight, you know every lane has some seasonality behind it. Now, you could make the counter argument right now. Well, hey, there's so many trucks on the road. Capacity is always there. Yeah, that's true. But like rates still kind of go up and go down, because at the end of the day, who cares? We got to find a solution. And this lane is the epitome of performing how every massive flatbed lane tends to perform out there. All right. You got your pre-construction rise that comes along with it. So I just pay attention. If you're going to be out there reading a flatbed market and you're sending any freight into snowy regions. All right. You know what I mean? And here in Arizona, we don't get much snow down here in the valley. But a lot of the freight that we move out goes into snow regions, and you can start seeing that pre-thaw planning coming on here. And you get that by that little bit of a rise in March and April. And then it kind of hovers around there for about 90 days. It dips a little bit, not much. I mean, we're talking about $120 overall over the summer, and then it spikes back up in August. So again, that trend line is, and it follows, and then boom, what happens in October? Most of parts of the country, especially up in Utah, starts to snow and stuff, right? So it's like that's where that dip falls off. So it's like you have this March to October window of stability, okay? And if you're pricing this lane right now, again, I don't tell you what to quote because I don't want to pigeonhole you. I want you to make a shitload of money. I want drivers to make money. I want brokers to make money. But I want you guys to understand the stability that comes along with this. So essentially, for about the next 6 to 7 months, sorry, 6, 7, dad joke, that lane is going to be as stable as possible out there. But this is where the instability starts to come in. If you look at it, what are these miles looking like? All right, 652 miles. That's great for a Monday to Tuesday, Tuesday to Wednesday, Wednesday to Thursday, Thursday to Friday. So if you're bidding this out with your customer and you are shipping between Monday and Thursday, you're going to want to have that Monday through Thursday rate. And then you're going to want to talk to them about that Friday to Monday rate, because inevitably you're going to have a harder time covering this unless it's a carrier who lives in Utah or Vegas and wants to get back up into that area. And otherwise, if not, if you have to source out of that network, you're going to have to pay a premium to move that for a Friday to Monday, because again, guys need miles over the weekends and stuff like that. So you'll see an inevitable rate increase. So one thing that I personally like to do when I'm going out there and bidding freight, depending on the volume of the shipper, all right? Like if this is a shipper that we don't move a lot of volume with them on a specific lane, I'm going to give them that Monday through Thursday rate, and then I'm going to give them the Friday to Monday rate and just kind of level it all out. But if this is a shipper I move a lot of volume with overall, I'm going to probably just keep the same rate out there because I believe in servicing the account. But again, to each their own out there, but you got to pay attention to miles on this. And again, if they're out there and they're not really understanding that a little bit more, I would also just argue on the side of, just keep the same rate. And if you break even or lose a little bit of money on that Friday to Monday, so be it. But I think most customers actually understand it, because ultimately it doesn't matter what your tech stack and all that fancy stuff does. If you can't pick up the freight, all of that stuff is irrelevant. That's why I like to have those conversations on the front end. And like even my busy shippers, they're always in tune with like, no. If you got to charge us a little bit more for Friday to Monday because of that mileage thing, we've noticed that historically in the past that failure rates start to increase from Friday to Monday on that specific lane. We want you to do that because again, we need that. And if our customers, i.e. the receiver, has to get that stuff up there on Friday, they would rather pay a little bit more money on that, as long as you're explaining it to them. Never assume that people are having these conversations. All right. So that lane, I got a little bit more to say on that, but that lane, you guys, is going to be Ontario, California to Salt Lake City. If you look at the 1 year mark, that is the epitome of stability for a lane. I don't see this lane changing much this year at all. Again, I could be wrong. There could be something that could happen, but in today's present tense, the way that I'm forecasting for a lot of my customers, we didn't really do a lot of rate increasing at all on the majority of our freight, because inside of flatbed, it's still kind of slow out there. And I don't see it happening because new construction's down. A lot of stuff is down across the board. And that is the real indicator on if the flatbed market's going to improve is if there's a ton of new building that's going on out there, because what's the after effect? You got the construction equipment to roll out, then you got the underground infrastructure, you got the surface level infrastructure, and then the above ground infrastructure that gets built up, and that's all connected. So that's the stuff that I pay attention to. So I would say that this lane is the epitome of stability, and that is where I would want to stick with it. But again, if you want these lanes broken down on the show, you guys just email my team, podcast@thefreightcoach.com. My friends over at DAT, This Week in Freight, we break the three main trailer types down Monday, 3 times a week, because sometimes I try and pair it up with my guests. We got dry van, we got reefer, and we got flatbed. And again, I'm just here to help you guys how I approach this stuff with my actual customers that I actually move freight with, that I have a business that actually generates revenue with by these decisions. I'm being very sarcastic in that, you guys, because like I'm so sick and tired of seeing a lot of opinions out there by people who aren't actually moving freight. Because again, no matter what, I don't care what happens in the market. I don't care about all of this stuff. I got to find a way to win, because ultimately my customers don't care about anything but the freight picking up on time, delivering on time to service their customer. All right. So that's my main concern. Trend lines are, in my opinion, the most valuable piece of information you can find out there. Now, there's a lot of stuff that could potentially happen, but there's always going to be something that could potentially happen. It's your job to read these things and bring it to your customer before everybody else does out there. But again, you want that lane featured, we're going to break it down. And, no matter what, you guys, I'm just here to tell you what my stance is on a lot of this stuff. I've been doing this for a very long time. Nothing's really changed on what's the most important thing to a customer, because again, you can strip away all the fancy buzzwords and everything, backflips that you want to provide to them. If you can't get a truck to show up and deliver, pick up on time and deliver, you're not going to gain any traction with anybody. So you can save all of your fancy technology and everything else. You got to actually understand what are the stability markers of a freight market. And that's your ability to actually execute on the freight, get it picked up, get it delivered. That's ultimately what they're going to care more about, because if you can't deliver to their customers, they go out of business. And then if your customers go out of business, you go out of business. So again, take that into consideration as you're going on out there. So let's get into some fun stuff, i.e. all these awesome headlines that are coming out every 38 seconds about how this is going to destroy everything. First article we're going to break down. And again, I always like to put this out there, you guys, all the links to the articles that we break down in this show are uploaded into the show notes. Again, I want you guys to read these on your own, formulate your own opinions. This is just my stance on a lot of this stuff. First article, ttnews.com. DOT moves to close additional 550 CDL schools. The federal review links poor training practices to growing concerns over commercial driver safety. The DOT and the FMCSA have zeroed in on 550 CDL schools in a massive effort to stop license laundering. This investigation targets schools that are allegedly bypassing the entry-level driver training standards implemented in 2022, which is not that long ago. This is a focus on schools that certify drivers as road ready, despite them having little to no actual behind-the-wheel experience. This is the government's first major move to treat the safety crisis as a systemic manufacturing problem rather than just a driver problem. It goes, it talks about the CDL mills, and these schools teach the test, not the road. I look at this as, again, who is actually issuing the CDL? Like, I know the CDL schools, and again, I'm glad that they're dropping the hammer on this stuff. I mentioned that back in like August of last year, that's the direction that they should take. I'm glad they took that. I honestly think this is more of an internal issue inside of the DMV. All right. I don't think that if there's going to be any pre-approval, and again, I don't personally have a CDL. So maybe some of my friends out there who took the CDL school route and then went and got issued a CDL from whatever state that they're in could bring me up to speed a little bit more on this. But I don't understand how because like I took driver's ed in high school, but I still had to go to the DMV to pass a driving test at the DMV. So my thing is how are we not having them still get tested at the DMV to pass the CDL? And I think that might be an area. And again, if this is happening, I could be wrong, but again, I don't understand how this is, I don't understand how they're able to get passed through this. And again, I'm assuming they walk in with a piece of paper that says that they're passing the DMV, just signs off on that. And then if I want to put my tinfoil hat on, I would assume there's the same handful of DMV locations across the country that are all giving some money under the table that says just pass these guys no matter what. We're going to give you a couple $1,000s in cash. Again, I'm allegedly, this is just what I'm assuming is happening. I have no proof of that. I'm not accusing anybody of that, but I think this is all way more connected than anybody's even connecting the dots out there. I think that the CDL schools, the ELD providers, the people at the DMV, the insurance of these handful of chameleon carriers, I think this is all connected. I think in like a year or two, when all of this research comes out, I bet you they're going to be able to point to the same handful of providers that are all guilty of this. But again, I think like it's kind of coming to the point where it's like, if we're going to shut down these CDL schools, are we going to look at the states who are issuing the actual CDLs and go in and talk to those DMV employees who are actually signing off on this stuff? Because I think that's where the head of the snake is, because they're the ones who are ultimately printing off that license that is showing. And this is just assuming that they're even doing it that way and they're not just, fake IDs and shit out there, right? Like anybody who grew up in the early 2000s knows how to obtain a fake ID. Even you can get one. If you could get one with your photo on it back in 2004 to 2006, statutes of limitations had to have passed by now on that. But if I could have figured out a way to do it back then, I would assume there's some stuff that's going on right there. But if they are going into that actual DMV and getting issued an actual CDL from the DMV, I think that they should be checking the under the table cash deposits that are possibly being made out there, because I personally feel, this is Chris Jolly's opinion only, this is all connected and this is a giant web. I just think that the FMCSA and the DOT haven't gotten far enough down that rabbit hole to connect those dots yet. And that's just bureaucracy 101. They got to have too many meetings about this stuff. So I think that's where they're going. So again, Secretary Duffy, DOT, FMCSA, if you're watching this, go to the actual geographic DMV locations and start questioning those guys, because I wouldn't be surprised if that's all connected at all. I think what overall, my man Adam Wingfield brought up a really good point on this. There's too many active, valid CDLs that are out there. I don't think this is going to have as big of a capacity issue as some people are out there on the internet right now trying to proclaim. I mean, there's like Adam said that I believe it, this is just a paraphrase. I believe he said something like 5 million CDLs that are on the road right now. So I don't know if this is going to sway capacity in any way other than how things are. I still think that there's excess capacity on the road overall. Yes, it's noticeable in some markets that capacity is tightening up, but to put it into context, if there was 5 trucks available for one load, there's now 3 trucks available for one load. So I think that's kind of the way that things are trending. But I also look at it is this is just another reason why you guys got to get behind C.H. Robinson and the broker liability case that they're going to be arguing on the Supreme Court here in a couple of weeks, because I think that this is just another thing that's tied into it. Again, I love that the DOT is dropping the absolute hammer on fraudulent stuff. I really do. I love it. And I say that because I don't break the law, at least knowingly, right? I'm sure something could fucking be brought up there. But I love this cleaning up of the stuff, right? Because like I had mentioned on yesterday's show and a bunch of times before, the more that they push this and clean up all of this stuff, I think it's going to open up a golden age of trucking that is going to make COVID look like pennies. I truly do. I truly feel that way. And that's where it's going to trend. But that article, ttnews.com, DOT moves to close an additional 550 CDL schools. I hope they get rid of all of them that are breaking the law. Now, next article. So this is an interesting one. This is from overdriveonline.com. If you guys want to check it out. This was released 3 days ago, but I saw this and I'm like, I got to talk about this on the show. It says chameleon broker, ? Big broker AGX goes bust, doesn't pay carriers, starts new MC. So this is an interesting one, right? There's a lot of talk about chameleon carriers out there and how it's so bad that they're closing up shop and then opening up the next day and doing the exact same stuff. But are the brokers doing it? So in this article, AGX Freight, a Florida brokerage, didn't just go bankrupt. They went dark with millions in carrier payables outstanding. The fallout has exposed a massive weakness in our current vetting system, the ability for bad actors to reincarnate. Reports indicate the leadership is already setting up shop under new MC numbers, plural. This is a deliberate exploitation of the lag time between a company failing and the FMCSA credit bureaus flagging the identity match. Now, again, because I don't want to get sued. Everything in this article is alleged. All right. Allegedly. I want to be abundantly clear. Allegedly. I look at it as, again, if we're going to go with, cleaning up the industry, I want all bad actors taken care of, not just chameleon carriers, not just I know non-domiciled CDL holders are getting drug into a lot of this as well. I just look at it like this. I want all bad actors across all sides of the industry dealt with, right? This means brokers too. If there's somebody out there who's ringing up, millions of dollars in payables, they're pocketing that money and then they're going bankrupt, closing, and then they're opening up shop and starting to operate under an entirely different authority. I don't want that to happen as well. I want all of this fraudulent behavior taken care of. Like, I'm not here to say I have a plan to stop this stuff, but I think if the FMCSA and the DOT are going to go after chameleon carriers, they got to go after brokers as well. They have to go after this. If there are brokers out there who are racking up millions of dollars in payables and not actually paying the carriers for the freight that they're hauling, and then when they go in and file for bankruptcy and close up shop, and then they just go and open up a new business the next day, that's just as bad. That is just as bad to me. And we don't need that at all. So I hope this is one of those things that the current administration will also look into, because I hate criminals in general, you guys. I don't want any criminals out there. I don't want people to be able, white collar crime, blue collar, any crime to me. I want that taken care of, and I want that removed, and I want that punished. I hate loopholes. All right. I want an opportunity. All right. I don't want an easy path. I don't want to be handed anything on a silver platter. I want an opportunity that the Constitution promises me as a citizen of this country. All right. I don't want anybody to be able to find these loopholes, screw a bunch of people over, and then go out there and continue to screw people over, because you don't just start doing this, right? You don't just start not paying carriers at that level. That is a buildup over time that happens, right? Just like if you find out somebody steals $5 from you as a business owner, fire them right away, because that $5 is just the first time they got caught. I guarantee they stole a lot more. And I just look at it as it's theft. It is criminal behavior that needs to be stopped. Because if you're going to take advantage of people, trucking companies are already operating at razor thin margins, and then you're going to not pay them for a load or two, and that just puts them out of business. And then you just go and reincarnate the next day. Again, chameleon actors on all sides of the industry need to be dealt with. All right. Brokers need to be held to the exact same standards. If you go out of business and you owe millions of dollars, you should not be able to jump out there and start another business the next day and rinse and repeat that behavior. All right. It's terrible. It's terrible for the industry. It's terrible for the people, the honest individuals who are out here trying to build a real company. It's really tough to compete with that. I look at it as it's really tough to compete with people who are not paying their employees, not paying their bills and everything else, and they're just out there operating. Because if you're out there trying to do it in an ethical way, you're toast. And I think that this is one thing you're going to start to see. I look at it as throughout the entirety of my career, people have been very weary of working with new authorities. And I think this is the side effect of that, right? So I think that this is going to probably potentially drive a large number of shippers, carriers, and everything alike saying hey, I can't work with you unless you've been in business for 6 months or 8 months or 12, whatever that number, arbitrary number looks like, because I think that you're going to have to see, is there any bleed over from any of the accounts so all of the government systems can get caught up with this stuff to stop this. So I think that that's what you're going to start to see. I think that is one thing that ultimately is, because the people who get hosed in this situation, and again, like even with double brokering and everything else that goes on, it's the legitimate carrier who actually hauls the load. And then the exposure rate that shippers and manufacturers are going to be, brought in to the mix as well. I mean, who knows how much freight we're looking at here? And we're talking about millions of dollars. If this is concentrated to a couple of shippers, they're going to get sued immediately about this, because if they already paid the broker who went under, they are now going to get sued, and they're going to have to double pay for that stuff, right? So again, this is just bringing a lot of this terrible behavior to light, because we don't need any unethical providers on any side of the industry. And I hope in this article, again, overdriveonline.com, talking about Chameleon Broker, written by Alex Lockey, I hope it gets the traction that it deserves out there, because I want all fraudulent bad actors removed from this industry across the board. Brokers, carriers, shippers alike, everybody. I want all bad actors removed from this industry and punished, so they cannot continue to do this and put people out of business by their unethical actions. All right. Third and final article. Sorry, guys, I'm a little heated about this stuff. This article is from FreightWaves. It talks about the FMCSA issues mandatory non-domiciled CDL directives. I'm not going to go into anything other than what's in this article, because I've already put my opinion out there on this enough. Again, to summarize, if you have a non-domiciled CDL and you're here legally and you're doing it all the right way and you're paying your taxes, that's a separate issue. All right. We're talking about visas and non-domiciled CDLs. I think as long as you're here and you did everything right, you have every right to operate in this country. The FMCSA has issued directives specifically for non-domiciled CDL holders. These are drivers from Mexico or Canada who are operating U.S. equipment but lack a permanent U.S. residence. Previously, these drivers occupied a gray area of compliance. Now, carriers must prove they have valid medical certs, legal work status, and verifiable safety history that meets all U.S. standards. This is a move to close security and safety gaps in cross-border trades, i.e., closing the gaps out there, which we need to do. The vetting movement, right? And again, I think that there's a lot of vetting software out there that is bound to explode in a good way here, because I think that there's going to be more and more of a reliance on this, about taking all of this data that's out there and putting the right decision in front of all of their customers. I look at this like, why should a U.S. based company be held to a different standard than somebody who's driving down here from Canada or coming across the border from Mexico and driving to level playing field, same standards all across the board. I do not think that that's a problem at all. That's all I want is a level playing field, right? I don't want a silver platter. I don't want any handouts. I just want a level playing field. I also look at it as, if we can't verify who a driver is at all, how can we verify any of their history, right? And you can sit here and make any argument you want on either direction. Again, I just don't want anybody to be able to operate in this country illegally. I think that this directive is the right directive. I truly do, right? There's no more suggestions. This is just the way it is going to be done. And then ultimately, the DOT is they are asserting that we control our roads, nobody else. All right. Now, this might cause some issues out there for anybody who operates cross-border, but at the end of the day, these are U.S. roads. You got to be up to our standards. You got to follow the level playing field that is out there, and that's that. So I think that if you're, again, pay attention. This isn't a suggestion. This is directive. You got to be careful about that, especially if you're a broker and you're booking that stuff. The way things are coming down, you need to look at your compliance. You need to relook at your carrier vetting. You need to relook at everything to make sure it's up to standards. Because again, there's a lot of stuff that's coming down the pipeline right now, you guys. You got to stay on top of this stuff, because if you don't, you could be liable. All right. I'm not a lawyer, but if you don't stay on top of this stuff, you could be pulled into a messy situation, we'll call it. But that article was from FreightWaves, you guys, and FMCSA issues mandatory non-domiciled CDL directives. But that is going to wrap it up for today, ladies and gentlemen. As always, if you got value in what you heard and you're not subscribed, subscribe to the show, you guys. And if you're feeling ambitious, rank that show on iTunes and Spotify, because if you saw value, your network's going to see it as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Came back with a bang, window down, yelling out money, anything.